Welcome back to Mellow Baron True Fact channel. All right, on this channel we're doing 6 videos a week. All right, on a smooth 7. Every 7 days a week you're getting at least 6 videos. If we could do more, we have the time, we're gonna do more. But please like, subscribe, share, comment, spam up the comment, get everybody in here. All right, I'll make sure I'll take my time, get in the comments to get back to y'all. Send me some videos, whatever. Hit me up on TikTok if you're trying to inbox me, because I do Mellow Baron on TikTok. All right, I'll be live on there sometime, but we're getting right to it right now. Trump president. So this is a Trump segment. Let's get to it.
Trump's grandfather, Friedrich Drumpf, came to this country from Bavaria, aka Germany, in 1885 as a 16-year-old draft dodger. He bought the one-way steamship ticket in order to avoid compulsory military service in his home country. That is an example that his grandson, Cadet Bone Spurs, would later follow to keep from serving in Vietnam. Among the jobs the teenage coward wound up doing here in America were working as a barber and allegedly as a pimp, running a saloon where he rented female prostitutes to gold prospectors, since he had failed as a gold prospector himself. He eventually invested in real estate in New York, married a fellow German, and tried to go home. But Germany stripped him of his citizenship for draft dodging, and he returned to the U.S. for good.
Oh my goodness. Look at this. You are not allowed anything other than yourself, essentially, into this building. We're told no bags, you got to empty your pockets. So look what's happening. People are leaving their purses, emptying them, taking their cash out, taking whatever they can with them, but then leaving stuff on the ground. Brooks, come on over here. This is a Louis Vuitton purse over here. People are leaving book bags. I found some Lululemon book bags over here as well, and handbags, because again, you're not allowed anything you're not allowed to bring anything in Capital One Arena. Huge crowds. But what's even more incredible, Brooks, let's show the floor one more time. People are leaving everything: hand warmers, food, candy, gloves, hats. And look at this here. I'm not going to touch it, but a Louis Vuitton bag on the ground. People want to come into this Capital One Arena event, and they're willing to do anything to get in, including leaving behind their expensive bags.
Not even in the White House yet. Not even officially president. Yet he's already restored one of the biggest social media platforms online, which represents income and employment for lots of people. Thank you, President Trump.
Welcome back, TikTok. We're in the 2025 era. All right, power got switched over. We got Trump in office right now. All right, we have Biden gone for the moment. Miss Harris gone. All right, so now what I want to bring into the perspective is, and your attention, as the first video talks about how Trump grandparents, migrate to America, and then we have the second video, and all that is showing how transitioning is happening. People's throwing away their purses and everything to get into the arena to be able to go see Trump. And then the last video, you have another black man that is saying Trump is not even in office yet, but he has already unblocked the biggest platform right here that we're using videos to create this reaction, which is TikTok. So let's continue.
Melania Trump wore something completely different this time around for inauguration. Remember last time she wore that soft baby blue Ralph Lauren? This time she's wearing this very severe suit and this hat that doesn't even really show her eyes. She means business this time, and that suit is definitely saying that she's not the soft, incoming, naive First Lady she was the first time. She's speaking through her clothes. She means business, and she's showing it in what she's wearing. I think the big difference this time around, too, is that major fashion designers are playing in the sandbox with these Republican women. Ivanka Trump wore Oscar de la Renta last night. She's wearing Christian Dior today. Usha Vance also wearing Oscar de la Renta. These are designers that did not necessarily engage with the Trump administration women in terms of dressing them that they have with Democrats, and this time around feels very, very different in terms of how the fashion industry is going to engage with the second-term Trump administration.
I was just arrested for holding a sign saying money for the poor, not war. The Pentagon budget this year is nearing $1 trillion. We are building more bases surrounding China to prop up more war, yet we don't have money for climate justice, for housing, for healthcare, for livable wages. We're not addressing the common enemy of the entire planet, which is the climate crisis. The Pentagon's the biggest polluter in the world. Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, and Lloyd Austin, the head of the Department of, in quotes, Defense, are in there testifying, asking for more and more money to increase never-ending wars. And I was arrested for holding up a sign, and it's what's supposed to be the people's house.
They were distinguishing China was the dictatorship and we're the democracy, and yet you get arrested for holding up a sign.
We need to be able to stand up and say what we want, and utilize our First Amendment rights, and demand that this government in our country protects us and provides support for the people.
We have to say that we see it, how the First Lady, she dressed for business. She 10 toes down, all about business. You know what I mean? She dressed like it. She show you a straight business attire. She ain't here to chit-chat, all that old school stuff. She put that behind her. All right, I'm a neutral party. I don't vote, so I'm for neither. I've been paying attention on the sideline. You know what I mean? Like a tennis racket going back and forth. I've been paying attention to everything, but I'm a neutral party. And then also, as you can see, this young lady gets arrested for just holding up a sign. That's it. Just holding up a sign above her head, she got arrested. Freedom of speech. That's it. She didn't even have to open her mouth. Okay? So this is the type of life that we're living in. So now we're looking at how this day and age is happening. And who's going to say enough is enough? So this is what we're having right now. So it's power being transferred, stuff still happening, but let's keep getting on to the next video.
Mike Johnson says Biden didn't even know about bills and executive orders he himself signed. This is troubling. Probably the craziest story of the day. You got to see it. You be the judge.
And I said, Mr. President, thanks for the moments. This is very important. I got some big national security things I need to talk to you about that I've heard and I think you know, and what do we do? But first, real quickly, Mr. President, can I ask you a question? I cannot answer this from my constituents in Louisiana. Sir, why did you pause LNG exports to Europe? I don't understand, liquefied natural gas is in great demand by our allies. Why would you do that? Because you understand, we just talked about Ukraine. You understand you're fueling Vladimir Putin's war machine because they got to get their gas from him, And he looks at me stunned with this, and he said, I didn't do that. And I said, Mr. President, yes, you did. It was an executive order 3 weeks ago. And he goes, no, I didn't do that. And he's arguing with me. I said, Mr. President, respectfully, could I go out here and ask your secretary to print it out? We'll read it together. You definitely did that. And he goes, oh, you talk about natural gas. Yes, sir. He said, no, you misunderstand. He said, what I did is I signed this thing we're gonna conduct a study on the effects of LNG. I said, no, you're not, sir. You paused it. I know. I have the export terminals in my state. I talked to those people this morning. This is doing massive damage to our economy, national security. It occurred to me, Barry, he was not lying to me. He genuinely did not know what he had signed.
People impacted by these fires are going to receive one-time payment of $770, one-time payment, so they can quickly purchase things like water, baby formula, and prescriptions. So far, nearly 6,000 survivors have registered to do just that.
In the first video, we're looking where they're saying that Biden signed stuff and don't remember what he signed. So I'm looking at it. Is that why they had pushed him out of the race, or is it true? Is it false? But that's what his camp is coming out saying, that He signed stuff he don't remember he signed, so he's going through state of amnesia or whatever that is. Okay, then we're looking at on the second video of Biden, where Biden is saying that he's signing into law where each family is going to get $770 for food, baby formula, groceries, whatever they might need that is affected with the fire. I don't know if you're providing housing or hotel or female, whatever you're doing, but $700, it's not, I don't think it's going to last a family a month that needs baby formula and everything like that, because formula by itself is already expensive. The baby alone might use half of that. All right. It depends how many people's in the family. So we have to put it how it is into perspective, because we're giving all this money to other countries, but when it comes at home, that's when like we're feeding us with the teaspoon. You see what I mean? Everybody else is getting the big pot spoon, but us, we're getting the teaspoon. All right, let's get to the next video.
Oh my God, have you heard this story?
Story tonight involves a common saying: you do the crime, you do the time.
But when people are released from prison, it marks the start of new hardships impacting local families and communities.
And new tonight, I-Team investigator Kylie McGivern digs into a Florida law many don't even know about. It's called pay to stay, charging inmates like Shelby Hoffman for their prison sentence, even if they're released early and regardless of their ability to pay.
I work 12-hour shifts, so they're 7 to 7.
Hoffman is part of TGH Crystal River's clinical staff.
The healthcare field has always been, of great interest to me.
She's worked to get to where she's at, but once more, she's on track to earn her bachelor's degree this year.
My desirable goal is to work in case management. As somebody who is in recovery, doing case management is my way of being a part of the solution. And now, where I'm at today, I am truly being stopped by one single barrier, and it is a $sign. The state of Florida had what is called an exemption from disqualification, and they told me that you are not eligible because you owe over $127,000 for an incarceration fee from the state of Florida.
What was your reaction?
I cried. I was hysterically crying. I literally felt like my entire past just punched me in the face. When I was 13, my parents split up, so it caused, a lot of dysfunction, a lot of misdirection in the household. So I found a boyfriend that unfortunately got me hooked on opiates, snorting them, smoking them, and then eventually, I started shooting them.
And this was all while you were a teenager?
Yes.
After turning 18, Hoffman was charged with a third-degree felony.
I had pawned something that, was stolen.
Then a burglary charge.
Both of those charges are drug-influenced. Ever since, 10 years ago, I've never caught another charge. I told him, I said, listen, Your Honor, you keep putting me on the streets, I'm going to die. I need help.
Hoffman was sentenced to the Phoenix house for a year, but did not complete the program.
The director kicked me out.
Because of that, the judge sentenced Hoffman to 7 years in prison. She served 10 months, the judge allowing her to participate in a youth offender boot camp.
I had paid everything off. I petitioned the courts to get off of probation. He clapped for me and said, you above anybody deserve this. Congratulations, Ms. Hoffman. I've taken pictures with him, given him a hug, and he wrote me a handwritten Christmas card telling me he knew I could do it. I finally felt like, the book was closed. Your redemption is complete.
Within 3 years, when applying for that exemption to work in case management, her dream job, Hoffman found out that she, like thousands of others, still owes the state $50 a day for the 7 years of her original sentence, $127,750.
You charged me for a cell that I didn't occupy? I felt so tricked and so fooled. There is no ladder with them that will ever truly allow you to be a second chance anything. There isn't. And they make sure of it.
Hoffman's grandmother, Linda, helped pay off what she said was thousands of dollars in other fines and fees.
We thought everything was taken care of. I must not understand it right. I've probably got this wrong, but no, I didn't.
Hoffman hired an attorney in an attempt to modify her incarceration costs to the 10 months she served. The judge denied the motion, pointing to state law. A court may not modify a legal sentence imposed by it more than 60 days after the imposition, and incarceration costs are based upon the length of the sentence imposed by the court at the time of sentencing.
You are imposing something that I can't pay off in a lifetime. So I'm stuck.
How is this possible?
We think it's unconstitutional.
Lisa Foster, co-executive director of the Fines and Fees Justice Center based in Washington, D.C.,
Florida charges a lot of fines and fees,
says it violates the excessive fines clause
because it's not proportionate either to the underlying offense or to a person's financial circumstances. In Shelby's case, what happens is she's saddled with over $120,000 of debt to the state of Florida that is a life sentence.
I have a family now. I have a daughter, a wonderful husband. I have a home. I have all of these accomplishments that I have worked so hard to maintain. And to not be given the opportunity to have a realistic, reasonable, obtainable goal to rectify all of that, that is why this is important.
Since 2019, Illinois and New Hampshire have repealed their pay-to-stay laws for state prisons. Here in Florida last session, the Fines and Fees Justice Center worked with lawmakers on a bill that would have allowed judges to do an ability to pay assessment when imposing fines and fees. It failed. With photojournalist Randy Wright, I'm my team investigator Kylie McGivern, taking action for you.
I know this video was a little lengthy, but $120,000 in debt just for going to jail. Like, I've been to jail before, but like, I'm also from Florida. I don't live in Florida no more, but it's a business. Like, that prison system is a business. The jail system is a business where commissary, phone call, you're paying for everything. Internet. If they give you a tablet in the federal system, you can rent movies, buy music. Everything is a business inside of a business, and then they're getting paid to house you. You see, so it goes like that. Then you work, then they use you for cheap labor. It goes on and on and on and on and on. So I don't agree with how the system is, and hopefully the system is changing, as we could see today as this video is being made, that hey, all the prisoners, aka hostages, how Mr. Trump calls them, for J6 has been released. He pardoned them, and it been like a pardon day. So Biden, he gave 2,500 clemencies plus pardon a few hundreds of people, and then Trump pardons 1,500. When you're looking at it, though, that's like 4,000 people a day. You know, it's a big change in American history, and everybody get to have fresh start, new starts. So I believe that this young lady deserves a fresh start no matter what she went through and been through in the jail system and whatever. She's a new woman now. She's working. She has a family. She has children. She deserves better. But we have states like Florida come on vacation, leave on probation. It is real. It is real. Me, myself, I have personal stories that, hey, keep following this channel. I'll have probably one of my stories in here. Let's get to the next video.
General, I want to ask you, you mentioned retribution and revenge in your remarks. Trump has appealed the civil case, the $450 million judgment. I want to ask you specifically what you think last night's results mean for that. And more specifically, Trump has said that you should be prosecuted, and I'm quoting, for your role in the suit. He's also said that you should be arrested and punished. That's also a quote. And he said that he would support plans to prosecute you for election interference. Are you worried about any of that?
So I'm of the opinion that faith and fear don't share the same space. I'm not fearful of Donald Trump. I've never been fearful of Donald Trump. It's unfortunate that Donald Trump would engage in these comments. At this point in time, as you know, the case is on appeal, and we are looking forward to the decision of the appellate division.
Henry?
I do think that all sides agree that Trump's hand in this has made a difference, one way or another.
Yeah, they don't want to deal with Trump. He's been perfectly clear. He has not vacillated about his message that if they don't send our people back, there's going to be hell to pay. And thank God he has been on that message and he has not wavered from it. He's not stepped back from it. And I don't really care, candidly, who the president is when all this happens. I just want him back. I mean, I've worn this yellow ribbon out here every night for over a year because I think there's so many families who are just devastated. They're hurting. They don't know what the situation is. And we need this to come to an end. There are Americans involved here. Look, I think we're going to end up paying a very heavy price in this deal. I'm sure some terrorists are probably going to wind up being let out of jails. I don't particularly like that. But to settle this, to get peace and to get our people back, I think it took Trump winning the election and being clear-eyed about it to make it happen.
Scott,
if you were Iran or any terrorist with any level of responsibility,
Who do you want
what
to be
you have
president?
witnessed is that the Biden administration has tried to, at various points, put shackles on Israel. You can say they've been strong on it, but they have at times tried to put rhetorical and military shackles on Israel. There is no expectation that Trump would put shackles on anybody, and there is some expectation that he might just get involved himself if they don't send our people back. So I do think this was the essential element to getting this over the finish line, and I hope it happens right now. A great nation, a superpower, does not permit its people to be held and treated like this for as long as we have. I don't think Donald Trump wants to be taking over a country that was willing to permit that kind of behavior by these thugs and terrorists. And so I think that's why he was clear-eyed in his statements, and I think that's why they're responding.
All right, everyone.
Yes, the first video we seen where they're asking the judge, is she scared about Trump because he do have the appeal happening and stuff like that, which delayed, that gave him time to get power. All right, he got elected, so he won. I think if they pardon everybody, he probably could pardon himself. I don't know how it works. But she says she's not worried about it. All right, and then the second video after that you're looking at, we've been having all these wars that have been going on and so on and so forth, but Trump said he's going to get in there and get it done. He got in. Hey, everybody else is getting it done. Now, did the Biden administration do their job? Yes, they did their job because some way, somehow, all this is happening at the same time. So it's going to be a moment of history, not just for Trump himself, but also for Biden closing out his presidency with how much he did, like the clemency, the war and the prisoners coming home, so on and so forth. So the day we're gonna remember January 20th, right? That was also Martin Luther King's day, all right, as a day of history in the making. So that's beautiful. That's beautiful. All right. So we're looking at life evolving. So let's continue.
Margaret, let's just talk about just sort of how extraordinary that is that this deal came together. At the same time, Donald Trump's envoy is there working alongside Joe Biden's envoy.
It's truly extraordinary, Nora, to see a united front. And President Biden's team was the one that crafted the details of this. Back in May, they got international support, but the closer here, I'm told, was Steve Witkoff, who got on a plane and went to Israel over the weekend, pressed the prime minister to take this deal despite pressure from the far right of his party to reject it. Back in Doha, Brett McGurk was leading President Biden's team, and they literally could not all be in the room together. The U.S. and Israeli team on one floor with the Qataris going back and forth with Hamas, and being able to show a united front prevented Hamas from exploiting any differences.
United front, lots of pressure on that.
Have you ever had a criminal defendant that had over 80 counts in 4 different jurisdictions and somehow was not held pretrial? I know that you talked in your opening about your interpretation of what speedy trial looks like, and it's really only for those that are held pretrial. And last time I checked, most of the time those people held pretrial, they don't have anywhere near 80 counts pending against them. But I'm curious to know, in your experience, Have you ever had someone that had over 80 counts pending in 4 different jurisdictions and they were not held pretrial? Yes or no?
Well, no specific recall,
Okay, all
but
right.
I could answer
That's all
more if you'll let me.
You told me no, and I understand because I hadn't either. So, in addition to that, there's been a gag order since we're going to talk about the pending trial that's going on right now. Have you ever had a defendant that violated a gag order and then you went to the judge and the judge didn't lock them up and they done it at least 10 times?
In Gaza, the reaction was immediate and joyful. Relief that the war is coming to an end. Crowds gathered in Israel too, but with mixed emotions. The hostages are due to come home, but in some cases, only their remains.
After more than 400 days of struggle, a day of success has arrived.
The deal was negotiated by Qatar, Egypt, and the United States. President Biden saying it was built on a framework he proposed last May, and conditions finally made it possible.
After more than 15 months of war, Hamas's senior leaders are dead. With nowhere to turn, Hamas finally agreed to releasing hostages.
The State Department said the involvement of President-elect Trump's envoy in the talks was also critical. Today, Trump posting the epic ceasefire agreement only happened because of his election victory. President Biden was asked who deserved credit.
Who does the history books credit for this, Mr. President, you or Trump?
Is that a joke?
The deal is fragile and complex, to be implemented in 3 phases. Phase 1 will last 6 weeks. Hamas will release some hostages in return for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. And Israel will withdraw troops from populated areas in Gaza. But a permanent end to the war and the release of all the hostages still needs to be negotiated. In Israel, little celebration in Tel Aviv Square, where families of hostages usually gather. NBC's Danielle Hamamjan is there.
There are only a few people gathered here tonight at Hostage Square. One family member telling me they want to see all the hostages back before they can celebrate.
Jimmy Miller's cousin and her children, a 10-month-old baby and a 4-year-old boy, were kidnapped.
I will believe to everything when I will see it in my eyes that it's happening. I will believe it only in the second that I will see.
This latest conflict began on October 7th, when Hamas massacred 1,200 people in Israel and took more than 250 hostages. Among them, 12 Americans. Only 3 are thought to be still alive. 2 are on the list for Phase 1 release. Lester recently spoke to the families of the Americans, including the sister of 20-year-old Idan Alexander, who's not on the list.
So it's been like a year that my best friend that I was growing up with has just been like gone from my life. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
It's been very difficult.
In Gaza tonight, people were hanging on every word as news trickled in that a deal was coming. And when it was confirmed, the streets were jammed. Palestinians overjoyed that the bombings will stop and more food and medicine will come in. According to local officials, nearly 47,000 Palestinians were killed during the war. Asked for her reaction, Narmin al-Suboh said, "How can I celebrate tonight when my father, brother, and uncles were killed?"
And Richard, you've spent a lot of time in that part of the world. This doesn't look easy. A lot of moving parts at work here.
There are many moving parts. First, the deal has to be formally approved by the Israeli government tomorrow, although that is expected. And then, as we've been stressing, this deal takes place in phases. The first batch of hostages, 33, are only supposed to be released over the course of 42 days. And if that goes smoothly and Israeli troops pull back, will things advance to the next stage, which still needs to be negotiated? Lester.
Okay, Richard, thank you.
I'm gonna keep this one brief. I'm touching base on the 2 videos. The first video with the defendant with 80 counts in 4 jurisdiction, and they get released. They don't get held on pretrial. Pretrial is when you get held in jail. They don't give you bond. Like P. Diddy's being held on pretrial right now. They hold you till you go to trial. and then sometimes you could put a motion in to get speedy trial within 180 days, which is about 6 months, stuff like that. But for the second video, like it's very sad. Like it's very sad that like these people just been through so much. 47,000 people died at this war, unalive, like they say. Excuse me. But it's brutal. You're looking at it. It's kind of like the new norm. Like people, life, the conditioning, and now we have Trump just happened to get in the office. It'd been like what? Now we're about to run 48 hours. All of a sudden, all the moving parts are coming together, okay? All these years the Biden administration was here, was fighting to get things done. They wasn't listening. Now they know there's somebody that's in here that means what he say and is going to do what he say. Or that's just showing that he's going to be a loose cannon with it and get right to it. So ain't nobody going to mess with that. You're going to literally let him do what he's predetermined to do. So he's here to make it happen, and I'm happy. A lot of families going home. The prisoners are being released, the hostages, and hey, everybody's coming home. Now let's get to the next video.
Yet another step for Joe Biden to add to his sorry legacy. People left in Guantanamo are the worst of the worst, the hardest cases. And Joe Biden, as you said, released them for nothing. They're going to the exact same place and the exact same program where Obama released 30 Guantanamo detainees in his final 2 years. And what happened to them? 29 of them went back to their home countries, Yemen and Afghanistan, with no accounting for their whereabouts. For all we know, they're back in the fight, threatening Americans.
They ought to release the J6 hostages. They've suffered enough. They ought to release them. I call them hostages. Some people call them prisoners. I call them hostages. Release the J6 hostages, Joe. Release them, Joe. You can do it real easy, Joe.
That was Donald Trump calling for the release of January 6th rioters. You heard multiple times there he called them hostages on the third anniversary, no less, of the Capitol attack. That caught on fast with Trump allies. Listen.
I have concerns about the treatment of January 6 hostages, and I believe that we're seeing the weaponization of the federal government.
34% of Republicans say they believe the false idea, it's not a false idea, it's a lie, that the FBI organized and encouraged the January 6 attack. A new article in Politico finds many Trump supporters think the former president has unfairly shouldered blame for an attack that they believe was overblown. One Iowa voter telling Politico, quote, "There was no insurrection. I believe he's being framed." Another saying, quote, "I watched it on TV that day, and I said, this is a complete joke. I could tell from the beginning that this was a setup."
For the first video about what he said about Biden with the Guantanamo prisoners that was released and everything like that, I believe everybody deserves a second chance. Now, will they go back to the same thing that they're doing? You see this every day over here. Some people, they go to prison, they get out of prison, they go do the same thing, go right back to prison or go back to jail, or, you know what I mean, or become unalive or in a cemetery somewhere because they just keep chasing their tail. So, yeah, there's people like that. There's some people that come out and become former citizens, working, getting money, business, getting rich, also that too. So it all exists. So what I see out of what he was doing, I would say it's a low blow, cheap shot, but that's just how I look at it. Remember, I'm a neutral party. I'm for neither side. I just pay attention to what's going on. Now, on the second video, we're looking at it that Trump went out and did everything himself. He pardons them, not only say Joe could release them, but he went out and he released them. And I seen on the news there's a few people that been home that the prisons already start releasing. There's some people that their family went to pick them up that the prison said, okay, tomorrow, come back tomorrow, that they'll be releasing them. So bravo to that. There's a lot of people coming home, a lot of people back to society. Now, what they do with it or how it becomes, that's where I'm here to strap my seatbelt on for this 4-year ride. and see where this car takes us.
This is the single most important economic issue of the day. This is pass-fail. That if we do not fix these tax cuts, if we do not renew and extend, then we will be facing an economic calamity. And as always, with financial instability, that falls on the middle and working class people. We will see a gigantic middle class tax increase. We will see the child tax credit halved. We will see the deductions halved. So it will be what we call in economics, it has the potential for a sudden stop. And as I said, traditionally with these sudden stops, it falls on working Americans.
The United States today has more income and wealth inequality than has ever existed in the history of our country. You got three people on top, Mr. Musk, Mr. Bezos, and Mr. Zuckerberg, who are now worth almost $1 trillion. That is more than half of the bottom of our society.
The three billionaires who you listed that all made the money themselves. Mr. Musk came to the country as an immigrant.
I understand that, but what I'm asking you is, when you have a handful of people like Musk, who will soon be part of the Trump administration, and others, when you have three people owning more wealth than the bottom half of American society, when these people have enormous influence over the media, when they spend huge amounts of money in both political parties to elect candidates, what Biden said last night is we're moving toward an oligarchy. I'm asking you that question. Do you think, forget how they made their money, do you think that when so few people have so much wealth and so much economic and political power, that that is an oligarchic form of society?
Well, I would note that President Biden gave the Presidential Medal of Freedom to two people who I think would qualify for his oligarchs.
On the first video, as he's saying tax cuts and all the things that he's saying, that it will be raised on the middle class and all this and all that. Hey, it's nothing new. It's the same thing that's been happening to us, that they're warning us it's going to get worse. The Fed been bringing these tax and inflation been coming in, and, you know, shrinkflation set in and price gouging set in. It's nothing new. So all it is, he's already telling us what we know. Now, on the next video, where Mr. Bernie's saying, like, oh, the three people, Mr. Musk, owner of Meta, and also Jeff Bezos, how they worth $1 trillion. Yes, these are numbers that we count on paper, but we never push it in digits as one person. They're breaking the barrier. They're showing that it could be up there. Okay, they're setting up wealth. Okay, that just like wealth in the past influenced countries and government and everything like that. It's the same thing that we see that's happening right now, except our president is already a billionaire. Okay, Musk is a billionaire. The people who backed him was also billionaire. But if we also look at the other side with Miss Harris, we had Bill Gates backing him, backing her, LeBron James, Kim Kardashian, all them, whoever was all these people backing her. When you're adding up all these money, it was billions against billions, okay? It just so happened that Mr. Musk has a lot more than all of them combined. So now when we're sitting and we're looking at it, you're looking at what America is. It always been corporate America that is leading America. So all this that they're telling me, it's nothing new. We're just sitting back and watching now. The rich has power, and they're going to set up rules, because the people that had the power, how they took Trump, drag him, this, that, charge him, jail them. Like all that you do, there's something that said what goes up must come down, what goes around must come back around. So this is what you're looking, and now everybody's scared that, hey, they might lose their race in the primaries. Let's continue to
said in his farewell speech that an oligarchy is taking place in America. People are blaming Joe Biden for not preventing the oligarchy. If he knows about it, why doesn't he do something about it?
People know what oligarchy he's talking about.
Isn't an oligarchy when a small group of very powerful people get enough control to control the whole government? Okay, then why doesn't he do something about it? He's the president! He needs to act
What's
like
he supposed
one.
to do when the next coming president is the oligarch?
Donald Trump is not an oligarch. He's going to do whatever he can to help me who makes 30K become richer.
Get his inauguration?
I believe it's Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos.
Yes, and now the CEO of TikTok is also going to be at his inauguration.
Wait, but isn't that a good thing? Doesn't that mean TikTok's pretty much here to stay no matter what?
Yes, it is, but that doesn't change the fact that Joe Biden's words carry a lot of truth and weight.
I don't care about any of that! I'm tired of rednecks! Trump's gonna say
You understand that President Trump is going to be the richest president we've ever had in the history of all presidents.
That makes him the smartest! Somebody's net worth has nothing to do with what they can do for this country!
You understand that most of his picks are also billionaires. We've had more billionaires in office than we ever had in history.
You act like he's putting people in office who donated the most to his campaign. It's better to have them than another D.
Potentially getting all the biggest tech companies on your side so you can rule over is an oligarch.
Hey, but what if he just wants to work with them to make America a better country? They gotta work together. Now all the billionaires can use the billionaire amount to help make us
So you think a bunch of billionaires in charge of you want to make less money so you can make more money? You really think?
Instead of having a former teacher as VP, I'd rather have more billionaires. They just want
What do you think it takes to become a billionaire in the first place?
a high level of intelligence, a keen level of focus, and the ability to not show any emotion and say it's just
Disregarding
business.
others and focusing only on the income of your business. You think they're going to change their entire life's work for you?
Yes, because they share their same beliefs. It's too late! Oligarchy 2025! I can't wait for the billionaires to happen! Say goodbye to deal!
I don't think billionaires should exist. No one needs that much money. I think it's inhumane. Pick any city, walk around, you see people starving, people without basic necessities. There's no excuse for that. And it's not because people are lazy or don't want to work. The billionaires that keep amassing more and more wealth so they can build rocket ships and do whatever the hell they want to do, that does nothing for humanity.
Your critics say that's class warfare.
Yeah, class warfare has been going on in this country for the last 40 years. The billionaire class has been taking everything and leaving the working class with nothing.
So you welcome it. You want the war.
It's always, whenever working class people ever step up and say, this is wrong, we want it to stop, all of a sudden, oh, it's class warfare, it's the end of the world.
On this reaction right here, I'm going to keep it very simple for these two videos. On the oligarchy video, hey, I want to shout out to him, man, like he did his thing. And also, on the next video after that, the guy saying that we don't need billionaires and stuff like that. Please comment below. Let me know what you think, all right? Do you think what he's saying is right? Do he have a point? Is he making any sense? So comment below and I'll get back to it. I'll read it and we'll make a video about it and get to it. All right, let's get to the next video.
Visionaries, all hope was lost. Stay engaged. What is democracy? Black men are being killed in the street.
Thank you for lasting this long with us. This is the last video. What y'all think about them boys sitting backwards while Biden giving the speech and everything? That there was a feeling them, you know what I mean? So I want to say thank you for lasting this long. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you for the next video, all right? We're going to keep it popping. 6 videos a week. Let's do this. See you next time. I will keep on holding.